thing was that I lead a life that's handcrafted, and that was like my little kitsch. So I made the little video of like a beat that I had made, and I get up in the morning and like talking to myself, like start up a batch of beer, go turn on some music, and then pull a bike out while it's boiling and hit the jumps, and then finish up the batch of beer and knock out into the fermenter, and had some like little rhyme that I wrote about leading a life that's handcrafted.
Welcome to Stout Conversations, where every week we sit down with creative thinkers in the craft beer industry and beyond. Your hosts, Ken and April, live and work in a 24-foot RV, traveling the country in search of great stories around a great beer. Bonsai Brewing Project in Whitefish, Montana may be lurking in the shadow of giants, but it is definitely not a shadow of a brewery. The beer, the brewery, and the food are each a piece of art that is well balanced and handcrafted. This week we talk with Graham Hart, the adventurous owner and head brewer, but more importantly, the artist behind the project.
And it's Bonsai Brewing Project, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to go with the project instead of company. I figured if it, when it's a company, you don't have to be redundant and call your company like everybody does. So.
You know it's a company. I'm selling you stuff.
Yeah, little Bonsai Brewing Project.
That's it? There's no magic behind it? You just didn't want to call it a company?
Pretty much, yeah.
Dang.
And it's just another project in my life, pretty much, too. It's kind of like an art installment in a way, and also we like to keep it evolving, pretty much. So we didn't, we don't like to be adhered to anything necessarily. So people ask what we're doing next. I'm like, I don't know. Next thing in the project, we'll see.
What's next?
You didn't want to adhere to anything, so you opened a brewery in Montana where you have the most lenient beer laws ever.
Oh yeah, it's great. Yeah. At least we can do it. We're really happy we got in.
Yeah.
We got weird laws, but
Can you touch on those laws a little bit?
Yeah, so because of we have a quota system for liquor licenses here, so liquor licenses sell on like the real estate market for a lot of money. In Whitefish, they're like $1 million for a liquor license, and our brewery license is $200 or something like that. So they created these laws where we can only serve 48 ounces per person per day. We can only be open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Basically, it's just an anti-competitive thing to not take too much business from the liquor licenses that had to pay so much for them. So it makes sense. It's weird, but it has its ups and downs. It has a benefit. It's protecting people's investments, and so we all get that. We just would also still like to stay open later.
Yeah.
It's hard in the summertime. 8 o'clock, it's still gonna be light for 2.5 hours, and it's just barely dinner time, and people are just getting off the lake, and so it really kind of cuts it short a lot in the summertime. But in the wintertime, it's usually not a big deal.
He's telling the truth too. In northern Montana, it's so surprising how light it is out here.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, even different, especially from where you guys are at. Yeah, it'll be like mid-July. It'll be light until about 10:45. Wow. But then mid-December, 4:30 to 4:45, it gets dark. So yeah, that's the bummer. That gets kind of tough.
That's when you don't mind closing at 8.
Yeah, exactly.
Because everybody's like, I'm
been
going
dark for a while. Yeah, totally.
So, Whitefish, is this pretty much kind of a tourist-driven economy around here? Or,
for the most part. We've got the railroad here too, and that's kind of how the town started. So there's a little bit of that, but it is really tourism-driven now. There's some agriculture in the valley. There's logging and things like that. So there's other industries, but really for Whitefish in particular, we're tourism-driven.
Yeah, because
so
you have
money comes in the summertime.
Skiing just like right outside your door, basically,
skiing,
just up the
lake,
street.
Glacier Park. So yeah, we get a lot of people and a lot of international tourism too, which is cool.
Yeah, we saw a lot of biking around here, mountain biking.
Yeah, mountain biking scene's really great around here now, and a lot of other places in Montana. That's developed a lot in the last 5 years.
So do you partake in any of those activities?
I do, yeah.
Which ones?
Mountain biker.
Mountain biker.
Yeah,
mountain
biker. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I actually used to race downhill when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've got a long history of mountain biking.
So when I saw a Kickstarter video that you did for a competition for Sierra Nevada.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it looked like you had was it on top of your house? You
Yeah,
had a ramp
on the
that
garage,
was
yeah.
on top, and you're
Yeah.
flying down the ramp on top of your garage.
Yep. The free ride mountain biking.
That's cool. Did you build that there?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that was cool. I won a trip to beer camp at Sierra Nevada that year with that video.
Okay.
And which is just a bunch of homebrewers submit a video as to why they deserve to go to beer camp at Sierra Nevada, and my whole thing was that I lead a life that's handcrafted, and that was my little kitsch. So I made the little video of a beat that I had made, and I get up in the morning and I'm like talking to myself, like start up a batch of beer, go turn on some music, and then pull the bike out while it's boiling and hit the jumps, and then finish up the batch of beer and knock out into the fermenter, and had some like little rhyme that I wrote about leading a life that's handcrafted.
Oh, nice.
And won myself a trip to go to Sierra Nevada for 3 days and just tour their whole facility.
Yeah.
We brewed a batch of beer that there was 10 of us there, and we all like got together and decided what type of beer to make, and got to use their pilot system and make a batch of beer. And then everybody got a keg of that beer to their hometown, their favorite bar. So that was, it was pretty cool. Yeah, it was a super fun time.
Awesome.
So was that before you were brewing professional?
Yeah. Before I even got a job at Tamarack. So it was just a home brewer back then. Yeah, still working construction
Okay.
at that point.
I think I was gonna say I think the construction paid off because you've done a lot of work in here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
My history of the skills I've acquired through my other jobs helped us a lot in these businesses. I think we'd still be in a lot of debt if we wasn't able to do a lot of this ourselves. You know.
So how big of a deal was the Sierra Nevada deal for you? Like, what kind of influence did it have on? Did it really influence the way you brew, or the way you think about being able to be professional? Or?
It did a lot, yeah. Like it exposed me to a lot of that side of things. It was really nice to talk to people from around the country that were in the same position as me, homebrewers that wanted to take it somewhere. Mm-hmm. I remember we did a quality control panel thing there at Sierra Nevada, and I was the only one that got all of the off flavors right. Mm-hmm. And so that was really cool, to like see that I had a good palate, essentially, or hopefully, and because those are big factors. You want to know that you're on the same path that professionals are, and kind of emulate those professionals, if you will. And that was actually, to get back to that too, that's like a part of why we called this Bonsai, is that we're trying to be like the miniaturized version of a great grand brewery, like a bigger brewery. Mm-hmm. And our motto is lurking in the shadows of giants. And that's kind of what it means, like we're trying to be the small guy that emulates the bigger guy, kind of like how a bonsai tree is to be a small version of a big old majestic tree, kind of a thing.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun. What else did we see on that trip? We went to a lot of breweries on that trip too, and like saw Ken Grossman's original brew system he made when he first started. Like Mad River Brewing is still using it, and it is just it looks like a spaceship from 60s movies or something. Like, it is so ghetto, painted. We caught him while they're making a batch at Mad River, and the thing is just brimmed to the top with grain, open top fermenter. Their floors were like, the concrete was so pitted out that the rocks, it was just like a cobblestone floor, and like their hot back that they were using was just a box welded up that the wort was dumping into. It was just so ghetto. And their beer's great, Right. So like seeing that type of stuff is really cool, that you can make good beer out of super old equipment, or just stuff that doesn't look good, doesn't look as good as all the fancy shiny things that other people have.
Well, so and we saw the way you're set up earlier, and it's like, you've kind of done a lot of work to make things fit your space and work for you.
Totally.
And like, so what size is the brew house here?
I got a 7-barrel system here. Started with a 4-barrel. This actually was my mash tun for the 4-barrel system, and then as soon as we moved in here, I had to get a 7-barrel system because we just started going crazy. So I kind of pieced all this together, got these guys going. We can still barely do 7-barrel batches, IPAs out of this thing. It's like brimmed to the top when I mash in.
So, like, for a home brewer, this is just like a big kettle, like you'd have at home, right?
Yeah, totally.
Pretty much.
Pretty much an elaborated homebrew system. My kettle was just a wine fermenter with a burner underneath it. Like that skirt on the bottom of it is the piece off the top of this, because this tank used to be taller, so I cut it down.
So you almost need that back, so you can
brew
your 7-barrel.
Yeah. I know, I'd love to get a nice fancy mash tun, but it's just, this thing's so sweet. It really works really good, actually. So those are all the fermenters. Got 4 7-barrel fermenters and 1 10-barrel. So I can do like double imperials into the 10, or sometimes I can top this thing off at the end and get like an 8-barrel batch. That's kind of nice for some of my lighter beers. Get an extra couple kegs out of it.
But this wasn't your first location, right, where we're at today?
No, we started in a very small, like 1,000 square foot space in the mall here, in the Mountain Mall in Whitefish.
Kind of a strip mall kind of thing, or
it's like an old school actual mall, yeah. And we were it's kind of like a place that had just gone dead. Like there really wasn't many businesses in it. It's got some of the outside storefronts and we're still operating, but we were like the furthest place back in the back of this mall in what was an old bakery, so it had some floor drains and stuff.
Let's put the rebels in the corner.
Yep. Yeah. When we opened the doors here, we had $800 in our bank account or something like that, and like sold tons of beer the first day, made rent the first day, and so it was like
it can be done.
It can be done. Yeah.
Did you?
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah. Especially here. Did you ever come across like it during that period that you're like, what am I doing? Like this needs to stop.
It was hard.
Now.
Yeah. Just in here 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, cutting floor drains and doing all the dirty stuff. And
at least you were able to do a lot of that yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which probably made it possible.
Absolutely, yeah. And like my father built this bar for us. One of my good friends did the tile work, so we got a lot of good favors to be able to make it and still not borrow any money for that.
Tell us about your chairs even.
Chairs are made out of bourbon barrels. They're my design. I made the very first one, and then I had a good friend of mine finish the rest of them. But yeah, I really like them. They're pretty cool. It's their own little design. I really like the little crux in the middle that holds the legs together.
So what's kind of led you to this? Because I mean, this doesn't typically just sprout out of your head to be this creative right off the bat when you just jump from being a kid to an adult to like, boom, I'm gonna open a brewery. But you said you did downhill mountain biking, and like, what other kind of influences did you have that have kind of carried into this? You have a very creative side that shows in everything you do, including your beer.
Yeah, as far as a brewer, I'm more of an artist brewer than a science brewer, essentially. But yeah, I've just got a background in art. I've done tattoos before. I used to draw a lot as a kid. Carpentry lends towards that a lot too. Like I really got into masonry and was doing a lot of stone work, which I really liked. It was super fun and expressive in a way, slightly artistically expressive for a building trade. And so I kind of always like to just keep some creativity going. Like that's really what drives me more than anything is to be creative.
Always that craftsman.
Yeah, totally.
Basically,
always trying to do something.
Beer.
Well, and the crafted beer and like that makes science is art. Like it is.
Right. Absolutely.
You have a little bit more freedom in the art world, if you want to call it that way, but you have so much freedom in the beers that you create.
Yeah, totally. That's really fun.
Yeah, that makes sense with the beers you have, because I mean, Montana has really surprised us with a really thriving, fervent beer scene.
Yeah,
the craft beer here is amazing. Yeah. You don't see a lot of it outside of the state. It seems very Montana proud, very Montana centric. But
that's a big factor with us, is that we just are still so small in comparison to the rest of the world in the brewing industry.
But I think that's a good way to I mean, you want to bring the tourist in, but at the same time, you don't want Montana to become like crazy like Colorado with all the people.
Yeah. But there's some other laws that kind of made that happen that way, but it has led to a lot of what I still, and I've been around the country a little bit, but I still think our tap rooms are fairly unique here because we have those rules. Like, a lot of them aren't restaurants. People don't, get drunk at them essentially because of the rules. And I just really like the cool little, like, intimate tap room vibe that a lot of places in Montana had, and that's was a big factor of what made me want to get into the industry. It's a really friendly industry.
Okay, so it said, good beer is the catalyst of social enlightenment.
Oh, nice.
You said that. Do you remember that?
That's me.
So how, expand on
that. Let's see. Well, I kind of feel like the pub is like the original Facebook in a way. It's like a way to get information. It's a way to see your friends, see people, hear about things that are happening. It's a meetup place for your whole community, kind of, especially in smaller towns, So that's kind of the vibe that we really like to carry out and participate in, I guess. And that's a big factor for us, and it's we have some really good customers, and most of our customers become our friends, and
I wonder why.
Yeah,
you're so really easy to talk to. It's been
so it's just such a fun lifestyle aside from just the job too,
I love that outlook on it, and it's like you said, comparing it to Facebook, except that you're face to face.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what's missing with Facebook sometimes. Is a lot of people say a lot of things that if they're sitting here over a beer, they wouldn't approach you.
Yeah, it's
the same
harder to
way, you know?
hide behind your words
Yeah.
when you're with other people.
You'd be a little more civil and talk.
Yeah, and I think you're a little more open to other people's opinions when you're with the people too, you know.
Or at least you don't shout it down.
Yeah.
You at least hear it.
You're more willing to listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, like, the beer here is very good across the state, but a lot of it isn't in the kind of niche that you're going with. Like, obviously, we've talked a lot about your creative side. I was like,
one of those words.
I'm not as creative except making up words, but creativityness. So you have a very strong creative side. I mean, that really does. Like, we were drinking with a bunch of other brewers last night. You were pouring, and a bunch of other breweries around the area were pouring, and you guys really kind of stood out to a lot of us in the beer journalism world. That we drink a lot of beer all over the place, and there's a lot of really good beer. There's great beer in the room last night, but you have a very different take on it. What is your kind of take on the beer and how it's fit into your community?
I think I'm very fortunate that we can operate at this size that we are and not be tied into distribution, not really battle for tap handles, not getting into the canning, no big investments in machinery and stuff. And so that's kind of, we've stayed this way on purpose because we have this opportunity where I get to express creativity, I get to do weird things, and at this scale it can work good. And I know with different business plans it can become very difficult really fast to be able to take risks pretty much, and being the owner and the brewer, I probably would have told, my owner self would have told my brewer self to ease up a few times and stuff like that, and so I don't have that kind of control or to worry about because I get to do what I want, and if something doesn't work out, I'll fix it and make it work out by putting it in a barrel for a few years or something.
Right.
So do you ever end up talking to yourself back there going, Graham, we can't be using all these ingredients. We can't let this beer age for 6 months.
Thinking?
We don't have the money. We don't have the space for that. And you just
do it anyway.
Graham, we got to make it. This is our thing.
I'll show up in the morning sometimes to brew a porter, and then I'll tell myself, well, it's summertime. Don't brew a porter right now. We're going to do something different. What am I going to brew today? And then an hour later, I'll come up with a recipe. Just go for it, And so it's fun. Like, that has definitely happened a lot with me, or I just show up and I'm ready to make a batch of beer, but I don't know what I'm even going to make yet.
Really?
So I just start looking through my malts, thinking about, what's on tap already, what I'm going to have coming up, the seasons, what kind of ingredients I might be able to use.
And that's something you couldn't do if you were really focused on distribution.
Absolutely.
Because you'd have to get that specific beer delivered at a certain time to your distributors, and so they can get
more caught up in that production level, producing the same beers over and over again and perfecting them, which is great too. But I think every brewer knows that we really like doing new stuff, and we're fortunate that people around here have good palates and want to try new beers, try fun stuff, and a lot of breweries are pushing the envelope and putting people out there to open to try new things. So it's really kind of fun. It's fun wowing people with flavors too, It's really cool.
You have wowed us.
That's good.
Like, seriously. All right, so what did you create here? What art have we created?
So let's see. I started over here with Tequila. My fiance's name is Keela, so this is a beer that I made for her. It's tequila barrel-aged wheat ale on passion fruit this year. And pretty tart, pretty sour, nice creamy, like satiny wheat character to it. I used some unmalted wheat in it. And coriander and orange peel, and that one sat for a year.
Graham, I can't let that beer sit for a year. We don't have this beer.
Yeah, exactly.
You were talking to yourself.
Buy more barrels. No way. This is our Due North IRA, so this is one of our always beers that we have. We have 5 beers that we always have on tap that I do repeat constantly and keep consistent. People come in, they know what they want, and they can get it. This is an India Red Ale. We don't make an IPA, we make it an IRA on our always list. And we started off that way. It's just a type of beer that I really liked. It's just got a little more red color, little toasty malt character, but still pretty hop forward beer, but balanced too. And nowadays my IPAs are all imbalanced towards the hop size, essentially. So it's nice to have good balanced hoppy beers also.
So it's kind of a red IPA.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
to kind of convey that.
Totally. Yep. What else do we got here? Yeah, Sunday brunch is a really fun one. That is
not what you would think. Like Sunday brunch, you're thinking breakfast stout, right?
Yeah, totally, right?
But the name, no. It's
well,
like
it's still a dessert drink. It's a lemon meringue pie ale. So it is. And this one, I actually spent a lot of time thinking about the recipe, like several weeks, kind of developing that recipe. Okay. It has some other ingredients. It's got lemon peel, orange peel. I used black lemons, which are sun-dried limes from Guatemala.
Oh, wow.
And they're totally just little rattles, black, moldy-looking, disgusting limes that they smell like cleaner almost, like super, super strong. I think they're used in a lot of like curry-type dishes and stuff like that.
Wow.
I got them from a spice company that's located around here. I kind of wanted to use those, and then there's also lactose and vanilla in there. I used some of the toasted malt that I use in IRA in this Sunday brunch to try and get that graham cracker flavor. So it's a really light wheat ale, but I used a little bit of a dark toasted malt, just at like 2% or so, to bring out some of that toasty character, but not a lot of malt character. Yeah. And really kind of hit a little graham cracker note out of just the malt.
Whatever. You just want to name a beer after you.
Yeah. That's what they called me growing up. Graham cracker.
There you go.
So it was a fun beer. It's really fun. It's light and drinkable. I like to really do my I don't know what you'd call it. It's a dessert beer. It's a flavored beer, but I like to keep them subtle so that they're still quaffable. They're still easy to drink a lot of, kind of, and not be too sweet or overbearing.
So you wouldn't say it's quite in that new kind of pastry kind of craze?
No, not quite.
Because you'd almost think that because it's obviously named after a dessert, but
I mean it's close, but I like to keep my beers a little drier than a lot of people on the market now. I'm still not really going full on with the New England style, because to me they're a little sweet and they're hard to drink a lot of. So I'm still not really doing that. I like to keep my beers dry. And I think it's kind of feels better the next day, kind of a thing, you know.
Okay.
Keeping that sugar low, but the flavor's still there.
It's working because the beers are very good.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's totally working.
Good, thank you.
This last one here.
And then that's our Unkindness Stout. That's also one of our always beers that we've had since we opened. It's always available. It's named after a group of ravens. It's called an Unkindness. I've always kind of liked ravens. Cool. Growing up, so. It's just a pretty straightforward, classic American kind of West Coast style stout. Still pretty dry, got a good hop character, lots of roastiness. I like my stouts to be really dark and roasty, like black coffee kind of a thing, not on the sweet side.
I'm right there.
Yeah,
I love that.
So so that's a fun one. And that's our lineup right here.
So what would you say is the most like off the wall, crazy kind of beer you've ever done? Because I mean, these are very creative, but would you say it's one of these, or would you say you got something even that you just went?
You guys keep talking on this.
Yeah, there you go. The Sunday brunch and 2 Kilo are really fun. I think one of them that it's a super cult favorite of everyone is a habanero ginger blonde ale that I made called Miss Thang.
Okay.
And it's super light, but it's really spicy, and it's got ginger behind it. It's like pretty strong on the flavors, pretty spicy. Like kind of try to keep it right at that level where it scares you the first time you take a drink, but then you're okay and you need more of it to quench the heat, kind of a thing. And so that's always fun. And like using pounds of habaneros is kind of toxic. Like habanero
you have
steam.
to have like goggles on.
Yeah, habanero steam is bad. Like it'll actually make people cough in here that day when I'm brewing that batch of beer. Yeah, and so that's really been kind of a fun one. And with habaneros, they're always really hot, but how really hot are they? So when you're making a batch with so much, it's like I hope these aren't hotter than I think. This whole batch of beer could be too spicy, So there's a lot of risk involved there with pepper beers.
Yeah, it's easy to go over the top, right?
People really like them. It's really fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, so
that.
That's I think one of my riskiest ones that really worked out, and people really liked it more than we even thought they would. And then the barrel aged stuff is always that's always an interesting one. I have some of that Miss Thing, and Sauvignon Blanc barrel with dried mangoes that's been aging for almost a year. So it's going to be a sour ginger habanero spicy beer with mangoes, and that is one where I'm kind of like, it might not be that great, but I'm still
Have you tasted it along the way yet?
Yeah, I taste it every now and then.
So how is the sour working with that heat?
It's actually not bad. Yeah, really, the heat's really maintained in there, and the sourness it's got kind of this bacterial sour character that tequila has, so it's really full and rounded, and it's going to be like a hot and sour soup kind of a character, you know. And
you have a lot of other artwork around the wall. Yeah. Are there any stories behind these, or do you know the artist? Or?
Yes. My fiance's mother is the artist that did all these paintings. She's got this kind of abstract style. And her father did these. He's an architect, and he did these oil paintings that are hanging from the ceiling. And then one of our bartenders did this hand and this owl. And then another good friend of mine did that photo.
Yeah, I love it.
So yeah, it's a lot of, like, most of the art we have in here is people we know. We almost never have any art
your
from
family
anyone.
and your friends.
Yeah, absolutely. And it rotates a lot. We have a concrete countertop over there that our friend made that has our logo imprinted in it.
Wow.
And then there's a carved wooden bonsai thing that one of our customers gave us when his mom passed away, because she had it in her house and he wanted us to have it. And so like that kind of stuff is just like brings a tear to your eye sometimes. It's really cool when people want to donate things like that.
I mean, that's got to be incredible, because how many people in business get to have that kind of connection to where it's way more than a business?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to be saying, like, your house going to be absolutely gorgeous, because why would you ever want to leave here?
Yeah, exactly, totally. Yeah, we always liked it. It was our big theme, you know, we're actually a public house with a beer garden. And so that's really cool to us. I was like, oh, this is great. It's an old school public house. It's a house where everybody gets to come in. You know, it's a house party every night at Bonsai kind of thing.
And it is an old house, too.
Yeah, right? Totally. Yeah, yeah. We've got some pictures, which is something we need to hang up here. But of the old fellow that used to live here owned a greenhouse that was pretty much where the parking lot is in that other building.
Okay.
And he lived in this house for 30 or 40 years. Just had kind of a wild story. I think he was in World War II and ended up living here just from riding the train once and ended up here. And just kind of one of those, you know, old characters from the town. And so we're still kind of embodying his life. He did, you know, he made these gardens out there. And there's oregano that's been out there for 70 years or something that. And it's just taken over the garden. And that's all stuff that he did, and so.
Have you brewed anything with oregano yet?
I did do a sour black ale, and I used the flowers. I dry hopped it with the oregano flowers.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting. Yeah, get a little bit of herbalness. The flowers have almost like a clovey, licoricey kind of a character to them, but some sweetness behind them too. So yeah, that kind of stuff's really fun. We're kind of keeping his legend alive in a way too, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Still rocking it in his house. Everybody said he was a big party guy. He always liked having parties. And
awesome.
Drank and stuff. So we're like, all right, cool,
so
perfect.
It's very
keep it going
down for Teddy. Yeah.
So we're living a Stout Life, and that's kind of a double-edged meaning. It's the full, you know, beer and the big complete yum. Yes. But it's also the full life, and I think you've probably kind of already answered the question, but what would be your definition of a Stout Life?
We are kind of living it. I would do half this and half what you're doing, pretty much.
Okay.
I really I like traveling a lot, and I really like just seeing things, meeting people in different places, tasting food, just getting around. I want to explore more, essentially, too. And so the perfect balance for me would be to do this for 6 months out of the year and then a road trip for the other 6 months to drink other people's beer.
I've come across some breweries that actually do that.
So what you're saying, Graham, Bonsai Brewing Project might be hiring soon. So
some spare time. I know, I love my job so much, it's hard to give it up, you know. I think of hiring somebody and it's what am I going to do? So I like it. I like getting to brew beer. It's a good time.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like the way you do it is pretty special. And
thank you. Yeah, it's great.
And something that'd be fun to do.
Yeah, it is. It's a good, fulfilling job.
Cool.
All right, we need to cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
We have new conversations every week. Be sure to subscribe to Living a Stout Life so you don't miss out. Graham has handcrafted his life with beer, art, biking, and travel. What have you done to handcraft yours? Let us know in the comments below or by clicking the link in the description.
You're so
Brew
cute.
dog.
Come say hi to the camera. There you go. How often do you brew?
1 to 2 times a week,
Okay.
pretty much. Yeah, summertime twice a week, and then in the off season, sometimes I can go for a month without brewing.
Oh.
Like in October, November, we're pretty slow around here.
And is it just you, or do you have anybody?
Just me, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a guy wash kegs and clean lines sometimes, but other than that, I do everything.
You don't want to clean all the time?
Yeah.
Isn't that the job when you become a
That's what-
brewer? You
Yeah,
have
that's
to
pretty
clean.
much it. Yeah, no, it is exactly what I do.
It's a good portion
Clean,
of
clean,
it.
clean, clean. Totally.
So is this like you have your grains outside? Oh,
I got my mill right here.
Over here in the corner.
Store all my grain in the other building, just for space wise, and all our kegs and stuff are over there. But yeah, I can just pull this guy open, fill her up. Just got an auger like a year and a half ago, so I'm really happy to have a grain auger now. I used to use like a monster mill and set it on top of this thing, climb up a ladder and dump bags in it. So now I got like real legit stuff. Just super handy. It's really nice. Yeah, but I've been through probably 10 different versions of this setup in the last 4 years. And then now I've kind of got it semi-hard piped and it just stays where it is, and it's really nice, works really well. If we got much bigger, I'd have to have more help, and I kind of like working alone. So it's nice to have that opportunity. It's like, I'll be planning on brewing tomorrow, and then I'll show up and find out I have something else to do, and I'll just shut it down, and I'll go do whatever else I have to do and brew the next day, because I don't really have a schedule that I have to do here too. Yeah.
Get a bunch of
Yeah.
wholesalers,
Totally.
a bunch of stuff.
Right. Yeah, no contracts. Just got to make sure blonde is on all the time, and after that, I'm in pretty good shape.